Thank you so much for joining me this evening or this morning, depending on where you are, for this webinar on Thornybush. The webinar is being recorded. The recording will be sent out in the next couple of days in a follow-up to those who've registered, and it will also be put on our YouTube channel, so you can catch up anytime. You can also catch up on any webinars and any of the content you feel you may need to be selling Thornybush on the Africa Hub's accommodation hub. We have Thornybush Game Lodge, Saseka Tented Camp, and Simbambili all listed there, and their details, all details can be found there, including contact details of their reps, us, JB, their sales manager, and also their reservations team. So anything you need is also there. Well, let's get going. So Thornybush Lodges are a collection of 3 lodges, 2 of which are in the Thornybush Game Reserve, and 1 of which is in the Sabi Sand. Years gone by, there were more lodges under the Thornybush banner. However, they condensed their portfolio during COVID down to just their 5-star properties, and they've really focused on these 3. Oh, doesn't seem to be working, excuse me. So Thornybush Reserve is in the Greater Kruger area, and you can see down here we've got Sabi Sand in the Greater Kruger down here as well. So Thornybush Game Reserve used to be a fenced reserve. So a lot of people still think of it as a fenced reserve, but it is actually now unfenced. They dropped the fence about probably nearly 10 years ago now on the eastern boundary with the Timbavati. So it is actually the reserve benefits from an open system with Kruger Park, and that has done incredible things for the game here. It is an incredibly game-rich reserve. I think sometimes people maybe overlook Thornybush for other reserves that have maybe are more well-known in terms of their name, particularly by the consumer. However, Thornybush Game Reserve has an incredible rich number of game, particularly in those Big 5 sightings, but also outside of the Big 5 sightings as well. In terms of access, getting into Thornybush Game Reserve, we recommend flying into Hoedspruit from Johannesburg. And then to get to Simbambili in the northern part of the Sabi Sand, you can either fly into Mpumalanga, Nelspruit Airport, and then up to Simbambili to the airstrip there, or you can fly into Skukuza and we can do a road transfer from Skukuza. So as I said, the game viewing at Thornybush Game Reserve is incredible, as is the Sabi Sand. I think we all know that the Sabi Sand has incredible game viewing. And what's great is that in Thornybush, we can do game drives and we can also do walking. You have a great variety of game in both locations, not only the Big 5, but also plains game, also wild dog, hyena, great birding. And it is, I think, a really beautiful reserve as well. So starting off with our Thornybush properties. So Saseka Tented Camp was built in 2019. It will actually next year be undergoing a refurb. Details on that to follow. This year we are reconfiguring Little Saseka, which I'll tell you a little bit about, and that will be reopening. It's happening at the moment. It's reopening in April. So Saseka is a property of 9 rooms. It's a lodge, but the in the main area, but the rooms have a sort of tented look and feel to them. And the real I think the real USP for Saseka is just how stunning the interior design is. It's one of the most beautiful lodges I've ever walked into. You walk in through those back doors, you have that incredible 180-degree view, and the lodge is just got this beautiful, bright, airy feeling to it. The interior design is very kind of that mix of the sort of antique, sort of old style with modern touches, and I think that's come together really beautifully here. You've also got real natural elements in the kind of the wood, the stone. You've got beautiful water features as well, and so it is just that main area is really wow, particularly when you first walk in. It's quite breathtaking. I think this lodge is fantastic for honeymooners and couples. It's not quite so cut out for families with kids. They don't take kids under the age of 12, and kids under the age of 16 are not allowed in the main area. So best to go with, I think, Game Lodge if you've got families. But for a honeymoon couple or couples, you know, particularly celebrating something, I think it feels really special here. It's got a really beautiful, special feeling to it, and it feels very romantic. We do try and get guests down into the dry riverbed in front of the lodge for things like sundowners. We do a kind of like a boma dinner down here. We don't have a boma area, so we do them down in the dry riverbed. And it's really nice to get guests down, you know, feet in the sand, kind of still feel a kind of in touch with nature, because you can sometimes feel a bit like a sort of spectator, I think, in these beautiful lodges. It's nice to kind of really feel like you're in amongst it. We've got a gorgeous curio shop with beautiful kind of South African made products here. And I think a really big part of the experience at all the lodges is the dining. The dining across the board is incredible. And I think that's just known in South Africa, is that the food is amazing. It's real kind of grazing table style, lots of really beautiful salads, really fresh. And at Game Lodge and Simbambili, there's a lot of that kind of Ottolenghi flair as well. The rooms here are sort of tented style, but as you can see at the front, they've got those glass doors, and then at the back, it's canvas. So it's kind of a really nice mix, particularly for those guests who, you know, South Africa is quite often a first-timer safari destination. You feel really safe and sort of enclosed in the rooms, but you've kind of got the romantic style of sort of draping inside and the canvas at the back, and those kind of, you know, the rolled up flaps and things like that. We have private plunge pools in all the rooms, and this beautiful big deck area. Guests can dine privately at their room. We're really happy to do that if they don't want to come down to the main area, or they want kind of, you know, romantic private dining. And all the rooms are overlooking that beautiful dry riverbed. So this is sort of a quick walk through the suites. As you can see, they're vast, they're beautiful big rooms. You've got this gorgeous kind of draped ceiling with the kind of botanical prints on as well. Again, that kind of mix of the old style with some modern touches. And it's just quite a unique room, I think, and just really light and bright and airy. The bathroom is open. We can do a divider if guests want. There are some privacy screens, but we can do like a full kind of divider if guests would rather. A lot of people like keeping it open. And we do also have an outdoor shower here as well. So yeah, as you can see, you've got that beautiful draping, the draped ceiling. You've got the gorgeous mosquito net. It feels very romantic. The mosquito net you don't kind of really need, I suppose, in rooms like this, because you do tend to close them up at night. We do have air conditioning as well. If people want to have the glass doors open, we've got the fly screens that can close. But I always feel like having that mozzie net just is kind of that real romantic kind of Africa vibe. So as you can see, you've got those privacy screens there. We've got the option of putting the flap down completely in between the two. And it's just nice, I think, having that tented vibe at the back with the kind of rolled up window and all of that. And it just kind of gives it that sort of safari authenticity, but with that kind of luxe of having the glass doors and feeling very enclosed. As I said, we've got the outdoor bathroom as well. And sometimes you might have to share your room with some friends. This was a particularly hot day in Thornybush Reserve, and we had the baboons jumping in the pool, which was quite amusing. So Little Saseka, which I mentioned before, is our kind of exclusive-ish option within the Saseka Tented Camp. It comes with a main area and one tent. And there is the option to add on tents. This is being slightly reconfigured at the moment so that it can include extra tents kind of better and kind of can be a more exclusive use option within Saseka Tented Camp. So that is being reconfigured as we speak. As you can see here, you can see when the river runs, it is quite beautiful, and it's quite cool having it sort of rushing past your room. For the most part, it is dry, and it's a stunning dry riverbed, and we get a lot of game down there as well. You get elephants walking through. I think we've got hyena in a couple of the photos as well. But when we do get a lot of rain, we do get, the river does film. So Saseka Little Saseka, sorry, has got a this main area. We've got this beautiful walkway down onto the riverbed. And so guests can have kind of private dining down there. It would work really well if you've got sort of 2 or 3 couples traveling together who want a private space to hang out in rather than coming down to that main area. We can accommodate children here, age 12. They just can't come to the main area, so it's nice to have your own private main area here. We do have lounges for 6 around the pool, so it does work well if guests have got kind of a couple of tents and they can use this as their kind of main area. Beautiful big living space. We can't put extra beds in the living space, and that is why we're doing a bit of a reconfiguration at the moment, just simply because there is no restroom in there. So that is just a lounge and dining space. So that is Saseka. I think when thinking of Saseka, I think of it as a kind of couples, kind of adult camp. When I then think of Game Lodge would suit honeymoon couples perfectly, but it also does lend itself well to families or kind of, you know, groups with kind of older kids maybe coming through as well. Game Lodge had a full refurb in 2023, so it is looking beautiful and super fresh. All the footprint has remained the same, so that's quite easy to remember. The only difference in the footprint is that we've reduced the number of rooms. So we have 15 rooms here, and then we've got this gorgeous main area, but the footprint of those rooms, the footprint of the main area has remained the same. We were awarded in the Travel and Leisure World's Best Awards, number 9, which was very nice, at Thornybush Game Lodge. And as you can see, it's just had a beautiful freshen up in terms of, you know, rethatching, redecking, those kind of things that need to be done, but also all new interiors as well, which just look absolutely stunning. We do all dining out on this main deck, but we can organise private dining for guests. We also do have a Boma area as well. And we've got this gorgeous bar that's actually been moved forward slightly. So it kind of, you can look out over the views over the dry riverbed, and it kind of makes more of a feature of the bar. We also have this library area, which now we do accommodate dining in here. So particularly during those colder months, or if it's wet weather, we can have dining in the in this library space. You can see the dining tables set up there. But it's also just another area for guests to hang out in. So they can have lots of spaces to kind of break away and have privacy that aren't just in their room. We have a main pool here, which is another communal space to kind of hang out. And then all the rooms, the actual footprint of the rooms is the same. So if you know Game Lodge, it is the same, but as you can see, all the interiors have been completely redone. Very cool, quirky design. They all have views out over the riverbed, and that bathroom area is gorgeous. It's got all windows, so you're looking out on the view, and then you've got an outdoor shower in all of the rooms as well. So Kamara House was an addition to Game Lodge. We took away 3 of the rooms and we put in Kamara House instead. So this is a 3-bedroom exclusive use house. It is actually part of the lodge. So when you drive into the lodge, Kamara House is on your right-hand side, and then you go straight down into the main lodge. And so it does mean that Kamara House benefits from being able, guests there are able to kind of dine at the Boma if they like. They can dine down in the main lodge if they would like, or they can just have a completely private experience here. So we've got 2 double bedrooms at the front here, and then we've got a twin room behind, which accommodates children only. We do also have the option of adding on what we call the Bush Suite, which is another double room. So really easy if you've got like an extra couple traveling with a family, or if you've got granny and granddad, or if you've got kind of older kids, I'm thinking kind of 19, 20, that kind of age, they can go in the Bush Suite as well. It's got a lovely big living and dining space inside and outside, and it does have a private pool as well. We've got a little pantry kitchen too, so guests can have all their meals prepared and served here, so they can be completely private throughout their stay. It also comes with a private vehicle and guide, and we can offer babysitting services as well. So there is no age limit on the children at Kamara House, but we do have an age limit for game drives, which is age 6 and up. And so just that's one thing to note, but we do offer the babysitting service as well. I love the kids' room here. It's so cute with the little twin beds and everything kind of lower down. We can add an extra bed in here as well, and we can add, an extra single bed in the rooms. So Thornybush Game Lodge really is the lodge that I think caters the best for families. It caters really well for children. This is actually in addition to Kamara House. We've got this fire pit area, so guests can have a drink around the fire before dinner or after dinner. But as I said, I think it really caters well for families here. We have a kids program. They get their little backpack and their cap, and they can do, walks around the lodge to learn about, we've usually got sort of, some impala hanging around a lodge as well. So it's just, we can really cater well for families at Game Lodge. We do a lot of bush dinners, so guests usually will get to experience a bush dinner during their stay, weather permitting, and that's usually a whole lodge kind of experience. And so guests at Kamara House can absolutely, they can have that kind of more communal experience as well as being completely private. We now at Game Lodge have a spa, gym and sauna as part of our wellness centre. There's a pool here as well. This can be made use of by Saseka guests as well. It's kind of in between the two lodges, so it's really easy. The two lodges are not that far in terms of distance apart, and so it can be made use of in both. We've also got a lovely deck, so we can do yoga on the deck as well, or kind of sound healing and things like that. We've got the treatment rooms, and so all the usual kind of treatments in terms of massages, facials, and then we also offer walking safaris as well at Game Lodge. So and Saseka, sorry, in Thornybush Game Reserve. So we have our walking guide Jack, and he will take guests out, and it's just a really nice alternative experience to being in a vehicle the whole time. It's nice to get out and stretch your legs. It's nice to go and learn about the smaller things, learn about the things that actually make the bush what it is, are usually the smaller elements. So it is really interesting, and I think it kind of adds that extra dimension to a safari. We can also do photo shoots at the lodges in Thornybush. So, if it's a milestone, if it's an anniversary, if people are on their honeymoon, things like that, we can absolutely do that. We can also get guests involved with the dog unit as well. We have an anti-poaching unit on Thornybush, and if we are let know in advance that the guests would like to do this as an activity and learn about this, then we can absolutely accommodate that as well. Heading down to the Sabi Sands, so moving south now, moving to Simbambili. So Simbambili is actually in the northern part of the Sabi Sands, and it underwent a full refurb last year. Similar to Game Lodge, the footprint's the same. We've just done new thatch, new decking, and all new interiors as well. We look out over this gorgeous waterhole, so you quite often get game coming down to the waterhole, particularly elephants. And the main area here has been sort of slightly extended. That deck to area has been slightly extended, and as you can see, we've got all new images. So if you guys need new imagery, do please let us know. We would love for you to make sure that your websites are up to date and all the rest of it. And so all of that imagery can be found on the Africa Hub, or you can contact us for links as well. As you can see, the interiors have all been updated in the rooms, and we've got all beautiful new decks, new thatch as well. All of the rooms here, we've got 9 rooms. They all have a private plunge pool. It lends itself again very well to honeymooners. I think it fits in really well with like a kind of Winelands, Kruger, Mozambique itinerary. It just kind of works beautifully there, particularly with the easy access through Johannesburg too. We also have the addition of our new wellness centre at Simbambili. So this was added when we did the refurb, and so we have got a spa and a gym here. We also have a main pool as well, so we've got a communal pool, and we've got a lounge and dining space as well. So we can do kind of private dinners here. We can set up dinner for kind of groups here as well, and so it's just another space for guests to kind of utilise and kind of break away into that's not just their room. We all know that the leopards in the Sabi Sand are incredible. It's leopard heaven. We did have these cute little cubs stashed away in one of the manager's houses actually a couple of years ago, and they did have to leave their house until the mother had moved them. But we do kind of say if you don't have a leopard on your deck, then your money back. It is absolute leopard heaven, and you can see many, a number of different leopards all in one game drive quite often. But it's not just about the leopards. We have amazing game here as well. You can very easily see the big five. I saw my first ever rhino here, which was very emotional and wonderful. But yeah, so the game experience at both lodges is absolutely amazing. And I think Kruger has just got an amazing density of game. I think we all talk about our people. I think that's the magic of safari. You're going to see the animals and you realize that actually it's the people that totally make it, the guides, the gorgeous smiling wait staff and the bar staff, the housekeeping, and that's what really kind of keeps it all going. And it's no different with Thornybush. Our people are what make the safari experience really. Thornybush, Game Lodge and Saseka and the reserve really work well for those bigger celebration groups because we can accommodate people across both lodges. We've had weddings here, we've had big birthdays here, we can set up gorgeous big long table on the airstrip has been done before, or big bush dinners in celebration. So that is absolutely something that is very well accommodated in Thornybush Game Reserve. And then, of course, we have a commitment to our community and to conservation in the area. We are members of the Long Run. That is what's nice about the Long Run is it's an ongoing relationship. We have had to qualify for Long Run status, but it is also ongoing. So it's something that they can help to progress our commitment to our community and our and conservation. It's sort of run based on the 4 Cs framework, which is conservation, community, culture, and commerce. And we're actually opening a kind of, I think it's actually going to be called the 4 Ps Centre on Thornybush. And it's going to be highlighting, all of the ways that Thornybush is involved in all of these fantastic initiatives. And it's a way for guests to get involved and to understand a little bit more about it and, where their money, when they're paying to come here, is going. So we have brilliant community initiatives in the community gardens. We get some of the kids from the local school out on safari when possible. And it's just something that Thornybush is really, really committed to. We do have a really great infographic actually that probably we need an updated one for 2024 now. I've got the one for 2023, which will go out in our follow-up so you can see everything there. We have got specials for this year. So we've got a pay 3, stay 4, should I say, from January to June. We've also got our honeymoon special, and we actually do have a flight combo deal as well. If you can combine somewhere in Thornybush with Simbambili, we can do the interlodge flight is included. But I will send out information on those when I follow up with you all. So that I think is me. Thank you so much for joining me. I can see I've got a couple of questions. Do please pop any questions in the Q&A. Amazing. Thank you, Caroline. So the camps themselves, the properties themselves are fenced. We do have a few little, impala and things like that come through, but we don't really have any big game that comes through. We do have guests do have to be escorted at night, though. It's just as a safety precaution. At night, guests will be escorted back to their rooms after dinner and things like that, and to dinner. No, it is not malaria free in this area officially. The malarial numbers in the reserves are very low, I believe, but it is advised that you take malaria pills. Always just check with providers, but it is not considered malaria free, like, for example, Mediquet is. Thank you. Just checking if we've got any more questions. I'm hoping I answered them all in my presentation. But if you do think of any questions after the fact or after we've sent out the follow-up, do please let me know. Myself, Anita, and JB are all here, Orla, my colleague, is actually heading down to the lodges in March, so she's going to be really well informed. Then it'll be her first visit here, so that's going to be amazing. And so then we're all very well placed to assist with any questions you may have. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day or rest of your evening, and hopefully I'll see you next week for our webinar on Voara, Madagascar, which is one of our newer clients and really exciting. So do join us for that next week. Thank you so much.